of Defense and the Ministry of Internal Affairs, respectively. Athletes trained by those two societies consistently bring home by far the largest share of Russian Olympic medals. Many Russian athletes have been active in their support for Putin's invasion. The limited focus of the IOC's recommendations around people being currently contracted to the military or national security agencies really does not account for the intrinsic relationship between the military and security apparatus. Our concern also covers the potential for loopholes, with people being uncontracted before events and then recontracted afterwards to allow them to compete. In Belarus, the Lukashenko regime maintains close control of Belarusian sport, with the Belarus Olympic Committee and Presidential Sports Club, which provides direct financial support to Belarusian athletes, led by Lukashenko's sons. The scenes at pro-war rally at the Luzhniki Stadium last year with Putin using Olympic athletes to promote his aggression only served to underline this issue. Thirdly, we have ongoing serious concerns about how these provisions will be implemented effectively, robustly, and consistently. For example, there are issues around the consistent definition of teams and whether pairs of athletes could be allowed. This issue is one that needs further clarification. Let's be clear on why this matters. You can't compete in a team event at the Olympics other than by virtue of being the same nationality and representing your country. There are no options to pair up across country borders, so there can be no place for any teams of any numbers. We are already seeing a great deal of confusion across sport as international federations take different approaches on the issue of allowing Russian and Belarusian athletes back into competition. And our fear is this will only escalate over coming weeks, exacerbated by the current lack of clarity on future participation at Paris 2024 for those Russians and Belarusians who may have qualified at events this summer. In all of these discussions, we must not lose sight of what issues are at stake. More than 220 Ukrainian athletes and coaches have so far lost their lives at the hand of Russian aggression. Countless more have been forced to flee or defend their homeland from invading forces. Our countries all have the luxury of talking about our participation in future sporting events, events that will bring joy to millions and showcase our greatest athletes. Meanwhile, Ukrainian sports facilities have been destroyed or severely damaged by this war. None of us should countenance the idea of a Ukrainian athlete being forced to share a pitch, a court, a field, a starting line with state-sponsored athletes from Russia and Belarus. The IOC must clarify their position or go back to the drawing board, resolve these issues I have set out today, implement an approach that guarantees only truly neutral athletes can participate. Then we can get back to sport. Thank you all for your time today. I want to start with an apology.
This lady knows 5 minutes are 5 minutes. I can say thank you. Now from the level of politics, we come now to the level of sport. We invited the International Olympic Committee and they nominated 3 guests to us. Mr. Francesco Riccipitti, he is the president of the Summer Olympic International Federations. And they nominated Mrs. Gabi Arens from Namibia. She's the chair of the Athletic Commission. And Mr. Arsen Julfalakian from Armenia, the chair of the United World Wrestling Commission. If you agree, I give now first the floor to Mr. Riccipitti, and is it possible? I know I'm Austrian, you are Italian. We know that we like to speak long, but is it possible with 5 minutes?
I try my best.
Okay.
I think you're a bit, I saw that, dear President, dear Chairman of the Commission, I'm thanking for the invitation. I'm not a guest, I was invited also from the beginning. And I came in person to pay tribute to this organization and institution that is one in this difficult time, very difficult time, that understand the importance of cooperation with sport and the relevance of sport in the society, the growing relevance of sport. We are aware of that, and this is the reason we are here. In these 5 minutes, I tried to very shortly to tell you what the group of people that I represented is the major stakeholder of the IOC, obviously the International Federation Olympic, have evolved in their position regarding to the item. I go exactly to the item and I go back to the February 22 when the Russian invaded the Ukrainian territory. And I want to remind you that the IOC was one of the few, if not the only, global international organization to take immediately decision in two sides. One was sanction, very tough sanction on the Russian and Belarusian responsible people. I don't want to repeat because my friend Amélie has already listed and she's very informed, so I don't want to repeat this. But the sanctions were very tough and they're still in place. At the same time, the Olympic movement put in place an unprecedented effort of solidarity with Ukraine that continue today and involve a lot of money. I can tell you that 85% of my international federation are acting and spending money to help the Ukrainian athlete to be ready for the Olympic Games and for the international competition. The president of the IOC, during his visit in Ukraine, approved a funding of 7.5 million, 3 times the first fund given to support the Ukrainian athlete. But a part of this two decision, the second part was what we call protective measure. We don't like in sport to talk about protective measure, obviously, because it's against the mission of sport to include, but we had to do at the time, means February 2022. And we decided for two basic reasons to exclude or to recommend Russian and Belarusian athletes from the international competition at the time. For two main reasons, as I said, the security risk between the emotion on the field between athletes of different countries, different position, respectful position, obviously, Ukrainian, Russian, and Belarusian. And the second reason was obviously to anticipate something that has already been said that is very sensitive to our mission, the autonomy of sport, the trend, as was very clearly expressed by the British minister, I'm sorry to say that the autonomy of sport is to be defended. And we saw a trend in many governments to try to decide which athletes should have participated in competition, important competition in their own country. So